Creating our shared story, the story of us. Who is this community and what are we called to do? The story of us. Goal for this session. Learn how to tell a story of us that brings alive the values shared by this community. Learn how to coach others in telling an effective story of us. What is a story of us? You tell a story of self to enable others to get you, to experience the values that call you to public life. You tell a story of us to enable them to get each other, to experience the values they share that can inspire them to act together, find courage in each other, and find hope in their solidarity. In other words, the us that the storyteller brings alive is based less on what category describes them, race, gender, language, etc., than the values shared that are rooted in the common experience. By learning to tell a story of us, you can bring those values alive as a source of solidarity, hope, and a motivation to act. Crafting your story of us. One way a group of people establishes an us is by telling stories that celebrate the values they share. These include stories of family, community, faith, tradition, school, professions, movements, organizations, nations, and perhaps world. The stories of how people came together, the challenges they faced, the obstacles they overcame, and the successes they had are the way we experience the values that make us who we are. The story of us in the room. Telling a story of us requires learning to draw on stories from specific experiences that the us in the room share. This may be stories of historic moments that all remember or have heard of. They may be stories of similar life events like having children. They may be stories of finding out that you were accepted to this program. It might be stories of something that happened the first time you met each other, or last night, or this morning. And like all stories, the more detailed, the more specific, and the more visual they are, the more effective they'll be. What were the names of the people involved? What did they look like? How were they different? Sometimes the most effective stories of us emphasize differences, race, religion, and gender, that may emphasize the commonality of values that brings everyone in the room together. The narrative structure, challenge, choice, and outcome. Remember the story structure we introduced in telling your story of self? Character, the challenge, and the choice, and the outcome, and the plot, and the moral. Just like in your story of self, the story of us has a clear challenge, choice, and outcome. The challenge, what specific challenges did we face? Choice, what specific choices did we make in response to that communicate our values? Like giving time to be here, or going outside our comfort zone, or working together on a teammate's leadership challenge. Outcome, what happened as a result of this choice? Was it a source of hope, of insight, of solidarity? The worksheet, discover your larger vision. The purpose is to imagine what is possible, to identify and visualize your heartfelt vision. Again, take a little time, close your eyes, and let yourself just go in your imagination to find that place of what a community looks like, or what this community looks like for you. What is it doing when it is achieving its purpose and living up to its vision? And as you get ideas, write them down. The worksheet on the story of us. The purpose of the story of us is to create a sense of community among individuals who may or may not yet see themselves as a community, and to give them hope that they can make a difference. It builds on shared experiences and outcomes of previous actions to establish the context in which to take future action. Your goal here is to tell a story that evokes our shared values as your audience and shows why we in particular are called to take responsibility for action now. Your story of us may be a story of what we've already done together, common experiences, challenges we've already faced, and outcomes we've achieved, Or it may be a story of some of our shared heroes, challenges they faced, and outcomes they've achieved. Hearing how we've met the challenges in the past gives us hope that we can face new challenges together. Brainstorm all the stories you know of about your audience and your collective story and experience. Your story of us may change each time you're talking to a different group of people as you create new community with them. As a group, brainstorm through the following questions. Here is the worksheet. What experience connected to your community have had the greatest impact on my people and me? What shared values did we hear through the stories of self? What values drew us to this community? What is the challenge that our people face? Make the challenges real with images and stories, not facts. What do our people hope for? Where does that hope come from? How do we know that we can make a change? What would the world look like if we were able to create that change? What about your community would inspire others to join us to face this challenge? Now choose a few of the stories you brainstormed above to flesh out in vivid detail. Remember, you can use this space to draw pictures instead of writing words to help you think about where to add detail and nuance in your story. The challenge. What was the challenge we faced? What was the root of that challenge? Choice. What specific choice did we make? What action did we take? Outcome. What happened as a result of our choice? What hope can that give us? Coaching tips for the story of us as we are talking with each other. Remember to start with positive feedback first, then move into what could be improved. Focus on asking questions instead of giving advice. The purpose is to coach, not judge or criticize. Listen fully to offer ways that the storytelling could be improved. Coaching questions, interweaving self and us. Did the story of self relate to the story of us? If so, what was the common thread? The us. Who is the us in this story? Do you feel included in the us? Could you focus more on the experiences we as a small group shared today that reflect our values? For instance, blank. The challenge. What were the specific challenges the storyteller faced? How were those challenges made vivid? I understand the challenge to be blank. Is that what you intended? The choice. Was there a clear choice that was made in response to each challenge? How did the choice make you feel? Hopeful? Angry? To me, the choice you made was blank, and it made me feel blank. The outcome. What was the specific outcome that resulted from each choice? What does that outcome teach us? I understood the outcome to be blank, and it taught me blank. The values. Could you identify what these community's values are, and how this community has acted on those values in the past? How? Your story made me see that we value because blank. Details. Were there sections of the story that had especially good details or images? For example, sights, sounds, smells, or emotions of the moment? The image of blank really helped me feel what you were feeling. So here is the breakout session, the Story of Us practice. The goals: develop a story of us, learn how to communicate the core values of the community you're building that can inspire others to identify with each other in common action. Coach others' stories by listening carefully, offer feedback, and asking questions. Total time, 45 minutes. So first, gather in your team. Nominate one person to be a timekeeper. That's about 2 minutes. Take some time as a group to brainstorm the us using the worksheet that follows as well as the previous one. 6 minutes for that. Then take some time as individuals to silently develop your story of us. How does your story relate to the story of your peers in this program? What shared values do they evoke? Use the worksheet that follows. Take 5 minutes for that. Then as a team, go around the group and tell your story one by one. Use the worksheet that follows as scratch paper for your feedback. 3 minutes to tell your story of us and 3 minutes to receive feedback from the group. So that makes it 30 minutes for 5 people in a group. Then rejoin the larger group, and that's a 2-minute activity. Here's the worksheet. Record feedback, comments from your team members on your story on this worksheet. Coaching your team story of us. As you hear each other's stories, keep track of the details of each person's stories to help you provide feedback, and remember the details about the people on your team later. Use the grid below to track your team's stories. Name, values, challenge, choice, and outcome.